good morning, and thank you so much for being here on a very cold morning. When we planned this, it was, 60 degrees in our offices, so I do apologize, but we'll move it along. But it is great to see so many of you. I was just saying to the mayor, I haven't seen some of you since pre-COVID, so it's like a home ownership homecoming, so thank you so much for being here. I just want to, for situational awareness, I just want to acknowledge where we are. We are on a formerly owned city-owned site on Violet Street, a wonderful neighborhood. This is a new home ownership development being done by Castle Rock. One Way is the contractor. These are very local, important businesses, and so we thought it was fitting that we had made some new announcements here. As you may recall, work is ongoing. As you may recall, several months ago, the mayor announced that she was going to commit the majority of the remaining ARPA money, the federal money, to increase housing opportunities in Boston as we fight displacement of our residents. To that end, we are back here today on Violet Street to announce some new initiatives that will help our families buy in Boston. I'm going to outline just a few of these quickly, but also have the city's important community partner, Simone Crawford from MAHA, speak and talk about the STASH program, and our very own Kate Bennett from the BHA. She is here to talk about making opportunities for our public housing tenants to buy as well. First and foremost, to assist more moderate income families buy their first home, the Mayor's Office of Housing has increased our down payment assistance and made it easier for families to access these funds. MOH will now provide down payment assistance up to 5% of the purchase price, not to exceed $50,000. These are grants, no longer soft loans. So we are building, I told the mayor that a couple days ago, I've been schooled, these are grants, and it really is going to assist our home buyers get equity more quickly. These larger down payments can be teamed up with state down payment programs and combined with 1+ mortgages, which provide high-quality 30-year mortgages with lower interest rates. Many of the banks participating in this important mortgage program are here today, and I just want to thank them for their partnership. Larger down payments and mortgages with lower interest rates will allow more of our buyers to afford homes in this very competitive, difficult market. However, we know that many families will not be able to purchase homes in the market, so we must continue to build more affordable for-sale housing. A few months ago now, I want to say 3 months ago, 4 months ago, the mayor had asked the BPDA to do a citywide inventory of all the city-owned property that had development opportunities or potential. This was overseen by Arthur Jemison, who is here with us today. And we completed that inventory, the BPDA completed that inventory, and they found 150 remaining smaller lots that were just ideal for home ownership. Many of these sites are located in this general area, and we've been working with Councillor Worrell and Rep. Holmes to really start investigating and structure community conversations about these development opportunities. We will use ARPA funding and other funding to offset the cost of this development in order to build new homes on these sites and offer them at lower cost. To get engaged in this development conversation, I would ask community members to come by the Boys and Girls Club tomorrow. I know it's Saturday at 15 Talbot Street, and we're going to really begin examining these lots and getting community opinion on what should happen on them. We also want to hear from potential home buyers. What do you want us to build? What kind of homes do you want to see the city invest in? So, before I move off the development, a lot of the folks that are here today are local developers and contractors. And I'm just wondering, could you wave your hand? Because that's really good for folks to, come on, don't be shy. All right, thank you so much. And it's really, they're developing these homes. They have been for the last several years with us. And I should say for them, the margins are thin. The development sites with the ones that are remaining are rocky and ledgy and difficult. Material prices are going up. So they're not getting rich off of this. So I really do want to thank them for their ongoing commitment to build these homes for us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. In closing, before I hand this over to our mayor, I do want to thank many of the Mayor's Office of Housing staff that are here today for designing and launching this work. On the home buyer side, I want to thank the Home Center staff, especially Christine McGorry and Richard O'Brien, and there's many others that are here. And I would be amiss if I did not announce today, you heard it here first, that Karen Rabaza has accepted the position of Deputy Director for Homeowner Services, and we are very excited to have her back with us. Karen, do you want to wave? Yeah. She's returning for another tour of duty. Right now, she is the CRA principal officer at Rockland, and she is a workhorse, and we are so excited to have her back. On the homeownership development front, I want to acknowledge Jessica Boatwright, Jamie Smith, Dan Lesser, Donald Wright, Rick Wilson for their ongoing work to increase the supply of high-quality, affordable homes in Boston. Okay, I did that fast, but I know everyone's cold. Now I'd like to hand this over to our mayor, who has made so much of this happen. By one, making the funding available. We cannot do this without a significant investment from the city, and her commitment to equity and home ownership. Mayor, thanks.
Thank you so much. I am so grateful every day to be part of this amazing team. The level of creativity, eagerness to keep things moving fast, and dedication to our communities inspires me every single day. And the ecosystem that we have built here, the community across leaders in City Hall, colleagues in government, community partners, developers, and business owners who are from our communities and have deep roots in our neighborhoods, we couldn't be more honored to do this work with you every day. We share a common mission and vision, which is that housing has to be the foundation of a healthy, thriving city. And that in Boston, that is an urgent issue. It cuts across every neighborhood, every generation, every demographic. And at the city, we are using every possible tool to make a difference there. And we're seeing the results already. This amazing a set of homes was kicked off through Chief Dillon and the team's leadership earlier this year. And over just the course of 367 days now in this job, we've already been able to see about 50 of these types of homeownership units across the city starting up in construction. And with the announcements today, we will be able to accelerate that even more. You'll hear about the details of what that involves, but we are really trying to move as fast as possible with every single lever that the city has, making land available in partnership with community developers and community members, making the financing possible with increased down payment assistance, writing down interest on those loans, and partnering with our community organizations for even more down payment assistance, and with the state on top of that as well. Working to cut our processes, streamline them so that we move faster in the approvals and permissions process. And the team, you'll hear a little more as we go, is committed to cutting in half the amount of time through an executive order that affordable housing permissions usually take, so we can just keep this going faster and faster. And also coming up with new and innovative ways to think about every pathway into homeownership. I'm so excited for some of what our amazing director at the Boston Housing Authority, Kate Bennett, will share, including ways that we are now helping residents jump over the usual steps and barriers so that we can even see residents in our public housing developments go directly into homeownership rather than trying to find a market rate housing, trying to save up enough to afford to get that first home and have the years go by and wealth building opportunities slip by as well. And so I am going to move. Okay, sorry, I didn't even start on my remarks. I will start on them now. I'm going to move through. After me will be our elected officials, State Representative Russell Holmes, Councilor Brian Worrell, Councilor Ricardo Arroyo, then Kate Bennett from the Boston Housing Authority, Chief Jemison of the Boston Planning and Development Agency, our Chief of Planning, and then Ms. Simone Crawford of MAHA. And so many cities across the country are still, and even across the state, are still trying to figure out what to do with their federal recovery dollars, right? It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity, and there's so much that this could go towards. some cities also are having to use those federal recovery dollars to plug holes that the pandemic created and really just keep the lights on in city government. We have been so lucky in Boston that with the leadership and management that we've had, the financial stability that we've had, our ARPA dollars in partnership with the City Council are already deployed and allocated, and now we're just seeing the results of putting them to work. As you heard, the vast majority of those dollars have gone to housing, including boosting homeownership and coming up with new and creative ways of creating more affordable housing and maintaining, preserving, and even taking market rate units off of the market and making those permanently affordable. These investments aren't just the largest investments in affordable housing in our city's history, some $380 million across all of our various sources of funding over the next 3 years. They're proof that with the right funding, we have the ability to change lives and invest in our communities right away. The funding that we're talking about today will help build at least 300 new homes on underutilized city land, increase down payment assistance for about 650 low and moderate income families, provide financial support and education for first-generation home buyers and change cycles of wealth building, and create a first home program that will provide such substantial financial assistance to public housing residents looking to buy a home that doing so, going directly from public housing to home ownership, will be even more affordable than finding a place to rent. This is why it's so important to ensure we have the resources to continue making critical investments in affordable housing that meet the urgency of this moment. We are using every single dollar of the American Rescue Plan and every federal recovery source, but this is a one-time infusion, and we need to have sustainable revenue sources going forward. I'm really grateful that the rep and so many of our Boston delegation members have been pushing for our proposal that has been up at the State House that would add a modest transfer fee to deliver more than $100 million a year, doubling the annual funding we have to be able to build and preserve affordable homes here in Boston, and with a particular focus to keeping seniors in their homes with property tax relief as well. And so we're going to keep at that for our next legislative session, but we did see that proposal advance farther than it's ever advanced before this session. So thank you, Rep, for your leadership. And Chief Dillon mentioned that there are many, many partners here, are developers who are creating jobs, building businesses, and a workforce that reflects our community, that is deeply tied to our neighborhoods. That is wealth building, and we need that to continue. I also want to specifically thank some of our banking partners who have gone above and beyond to make sure that they are making financing available. And we want to see every single bank in our ecosystem following the lead of some of the folks who are here. Cambridge Trust and Citizens Bank have been two leading organizations that have really gone above and beyond in giving out the most 1+ Boston mortgages in the last 2 years. We have the ability here in Boston to address the complex challenges that our city is facing, from housing and homelessness to transit access and climate resilience. And in fact, when we work on this, all of the progress accelerates together. It's all interconnected. And for every family who gets to move into a new, beautiful, energy efficient, healthy, and affordable home, the entire street benefits, the entire community benefits, the entire city benefits. And so I'm so grateful for everyone's work. Ok, un poco en español. Muchos de nuestros residentes han expresado que la vivienda es el problema de mayor urgencia hoy en día en nuestra ciudad. Por lo que me emociona estar aquí, celebrando cómo estamos utilizando nuestros dólares de ARPA, de recuperación federal, para hacer frente a la crisis de la vivienda que viven los residentes y las familias aquí en Boston. Esta no solo es la mayor inversión en vivienda de bajo costo en nuestra ciudad, es prueba de que con el financiamiento adecuado tenemos la capacidad de cambiar la vida de las personas para las que trabajamos, construyendo 300 viviendas nuevas en terrenos de la ciudad que no se utilizan, aumentaron la asistencia a 650 familias de bajo y medio ingreso para pagar los anticipos, proporcionando apoyo financiero y educativo a los compradores de vivienda de primera generación, un programa de Mi Primera Vivienda que proporcionará a los residentes de vivienda pública que quieren comprar una casa, apoyos financieros tan significativos que comprarla será incluso más económico que encontrar un alquiler. Por eso es sumamente importante asegurarnos de que contamos con los recursos necesarios para continuar haciendo inversiones críticas en vivienda económica que responda a la urgencia actual. Tenemos la esperanza de que el próximo año la Asamblea Legislativa, con los líderes como State Rep Russell Holmes y otros, apruebe nuestra propuesta de cuota de traspaso modesta para destinar más de $100 millones, duplicando los fondos anuales que tenemos para poder construir y preservar la vivienda de bajo costo en Boston. You know I was going to push for transfer fee in Spanish too. So thank you everyone so much. I'm going to pass it over now to our elected officials, followed by more of our chiefs, and then Ms. Crawford.
Good morning, everyone. I want to begin by thanking the mayor, of course. I've said in neighborhood meeting after neighborhood meeting, Kenya will tell you, I've said in neighborhood meeting after neighborhood meeting, we have plenty of money. And the question at this point is, what are we going to do with the money? As the mayor said, we're in a once in a lifetime opportunity, and we have to make decisions that really transform, really go combating the things that structurally have been structural racism for hundreds of years. And so doing things of this nature, targeting and being focused on the neighborhood that has been disadvantaged for far too long is what's important. I'm going to also begin by recognizing Abraham from One Way. I can tell you part of the conversation today is around creating supply. We have to make sure that we create the supply for the housing that is so important. As Simone's going to talk about, and the other side of that is making sure that we can match all the folks who, after we build this supply, we can match them with the home. But I'm going to recognize Abraham in One Way, because even on the house that we're standing on right now at this very moment, these are going to be challenges. And that's why we need to begin now, because this money has to be spent pretty quickly. We have to begin now, because even the conversation such as you're standing on a driveway that didn't initially, it wasn't initially in the proposal. This was initially two separate homes. And then we had to hear from the neighbors that say, look, we are concerned about this changing the character of this neighborhood. We're concerned about the parking. We're concerned about the driveways. And all of those are conversations that are real. They're concerned about the parking on these streets. And so thank you for doing that, and thank you for all of the developers. I see many developers, as the mayor recognized already. It is very important that we begin these conversations and begin it with developers that these programs are focused on. These programs are focused on developers who we're creating opportunities for you to develop and build the strength and build the capacity, so not only can you have these smaller projects that we've been doing for years, but can grow your businesses over decades. And so we're thankful for folks like One Way and all the other developers here, because of the fact that without you, we don't build not only the wealth that we want to build in the home ownership, but we want to build home ownership wealth in all of the contractors and developers who live in our neighborhood and from our neighborhoods as well. So I'm going to just do another shout out to all the developers who are here as well. I know it's cold, so I'm going to give one other theme and comment. I hear often folks say, hey, would you do this in your neighborhood? If you go to my car right now, there's a little sign on it that says YIMBY. Yes, in my backyard. That is what's important for you to understand. There's nothing we're proposing. On my street, we're going to initially have this announcement literally at 36 Goodale. I live at 80. But I'm saying we built a house, Abraham again and his team, and let's build another one right next door. That is, all of these lots are just like eyesores totally through our neighborhood. I look across the street and say, why aren't we building on that piece of junk, right? Like, we need to be thinking, how do we fill all of these city lots and create homes? Now, the conversation is always hard because of the fact that almost every single one of us want to park in front of our house. Literally, like, if you build this house, that means I won't be able to park in front of my house today. And I'm gonna just say, as we build these houses, whomever's gonna live in this house, Abraham, do me a favor. Tell that person to please use the driveway. I have two houses built on my street, and neither one of the people use the driveway because they too want to park in front of their house and stop people from parking. So Finally, Sheila deserves a shout out. I'm just going to talk about this, and Donald and the team, because they deal with me all the time, and Arthur's going to continue to hear from me. I want something built. Don't play games. Do not play games with these ideas. We have the money. Let's build it. But Sheila deserves a major shout out here because of the fact that I'm going to just say to you this. We had foundations that were empty in my district. We had not built on them for 10 years because of the last housing boom, and they were sitting there with just grass growing inside of them over on the state hospital site. And Sheila and Jerry Rappaport and the team had a conversation with me, and they came up with this proposal that literally the city, the houses I think at that time cost about $425,000 to build or so, and Sheila and the team said, hey, we're going to give $125,000 into each one of those units, and so we will build them for $425, I think my numbers are right, and we'll sell them for $300. And so we're going to have the deed restriction. We're going to continue to go back and forth about how long the deed restriction should be on, but the point is it created ownership. It created affordable ownership that we can then sell it. And so the Black and Latino Caucus, we get with the governor every quarter. And we got into the next meeting, and I said, hey, if the city can do this, why can't the state? Why on earth are we not doing this as well? And that started a conversation that eventually developed and built out, Simone may talk about it, the Commonwealth Builders Program. We're going to do another $200 million in the last economic development bill, but it now creates this same opportunity across the Commonwealth, where now we're going to be doing one of the things that you're going to hear the governor talk about, one of his most proudest moments, ideas really stimulated from what we had as a conversation. And we need to continue to, and I said to the governor that day, look, Charlie, we have done nothing but affordable rentals since he had been in office. We must do affordable ownership. And so that's why these programs are very, very important. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to try my best to even get that $100 million tax on folks again. But we have plenty of money. We have plenty of money, and let's make sure we use it right. Thank you all for listening to me. I'm going to bring up my counselor. Who am I bringing up? Brian Rowell.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm Brian Worrell, the District 4 Boston City Councilor. Thank you for Mayor Wu for your support and partnership towards bringing this huge win for the city of Boston, especially the housing, affordable housing starts in District 4 right now. I also want to thank MAHA, Mass Dreamers, BHA, for all their work, which has made investments like this possible. I first ran for office with home ownership as one of my top priorities. As someone who was born and raised in Dorchester, seeing neighbors struggling to afford to stay in the neighborhood we love, who understand the historical, discriminatory housing practices that have kept too many families from access to wealth. And as someone who's worked in real estate for 20 years, once elected, I rolled out a policy called the Black and Brown Economic Empowerment Agenda, which sought to tackle the biggest challenges to success for people of color in our city. As we all know, housing prices have skyrocketed, putting families who lived in Boston for generations in an uncomfortable position for having to leave behind their deep roots, communities, and proximity to their families. We are a city where too many seniors can't afford to age with dignity, and their neighborhoods and our children, the next generation, feel hopeless about the prospect of being able to achieve home ownership. This right here, what we did is one step to interrupt the cycle and help families in this district with ARPA funds and the support of Mayor Wu and many of my colleagues on the council. We have 70 parcels of what is now vacant land inside of District 4, which will be creating housing stability for families, but will also serve as economic investments, creating jobs and opportunities. As part of this initiative, the city will also be providing more financial support in the form of closing costs, down payment assistance, for the first-time home buyers. And what makes this initiative different is that BHA residents now will qualify for up to $50,000 in assistance. The way we are starting to layer investments in families will start to break cycles of poverty and provide real opportunities for Bostonians who might have been priced out will now receive assistance to become homeowners. I believe this is just the first and the beginning of restorative policies and investments in addressing housing equity and tackling the racial wealth gap here in Boston. And I'm excited to continue working with our housing partners, the mayor, and my city council colleagues to making this happen here in the city of Boston. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. Love Councilor Worrell. Happy to be here with y'all today, celebrating this achievement, frankly. When we look at, and I'm going to bring it back to what just happened when our mayor addressed the crowd, as she often does bilingually. You can't see it, but I get to see all of the folks who speak a different language feel seen, and the joy and the happiness that they have a government official who is speaking to them in their language and addressing them in a way that they understand. When we back projects like this, when we back housing initiatives like this, there are people in this city for decades who have struggled to stay in this city. We are suffering from displacement. We're struggling from people who have a very difficult time buying homes in neighborhoods that they grew up in, that their families have grown up in. And when we do projects like this, when we fund projects like this, similarly to that, we are saying we see you. We are trying to reach out to you. We are trying to do the things necessary to stop the harms that you are experiencing. And that is something to find joy in and to be happy about. You know, I know that this is a big deal because we are in a majority black neighborhood, and many of these neighbors have doors and windows open. And if you grew up in a home, which I was blessed to do, with a family of color, you know that you don't let the heat out. And so this is a special moment for the neighborhood as well, because these are wins for the neighborhood as well. This will be a home for multiple people that will be as happy to be coming home here as you will be to be out of this driveway and out of this shade in about 10, 15 minutes. And so this is a remarkable thing that we need to keep doing, because every time we create a home and give someone the keys to a door, we are giving them the keys to stability, which is so important. The mental stability of knowing that I belong here, I'm going to be here, I'm going to put roots in here, I'm going to go to schools here, I'm going to contribute to this neighborhood and this community here. You are opening the doors to opportunities that we know are incredibly important, especially for communities of color, especially for folks buying their very first home, to generational wealth, to opportunities that they have not seen before. And so I'm grateful to this administration. I'm grateful to my council colleagues like Councilor Worrell, my state house partners like Representative Holmes, and the activists and the advocates like Maha, who have led the charge. Yeah, you can clap for them. Who have led the charge to make sure that ARPA money, as soon as they heard there was some ARPA money, they were like, well, I know what you could do with that. And so I'm grateful to them. I'm grateful to the advocates who have been steadfast on this, even as some of them have been displaced themselves. They have continued to fight for home ownership and for opportunities here in this city for people who are still fighting to live here. And so I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to everybody who put this together. And I'm grateful to our developers. This is probably one of the only times you've been in a public setting and gotten claps, because I've been to a number of meetings where people are talking about the parking in front of their house. And so I'm grateful to you as well for being partners in this and making sure that we are creating affordable housing for our neighbors and for our community. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, indeed. Good morning. I'm Kate Bennett with the Boston Housing Authority. It's great to be here today. I think everyone knows at the Housing Authority, our core business is affordable rental housing. But what we find is that we always have a pool of families in that 50 to 70% of area median income range, where homeownership could be possible with the right supports. And these families very much want that opportunity. And it makes total sense for us to try to help them, not only for all the reasons that everyone's talked about today in terms of what home ownership does for a family, but because for every family at BHA that graduates to home ownership, we're freeing up subsidy for the next rental family on our wait list. And so for us, it's just a huge win-win to engage in these programs. And I'm really grateful for the support from the mayor, from Chief Dillon. With these funds, we've created the First Home program at BHA, which will provide down payment assistance, enhanced down payment assistance of up to $75,000 per household. Buying in the city limits. Yeah, we can really buy something with that. And Section 8 voucher residents can use their housing subsidy towards mortgage payments for a time under our Section 8 homeowner initiative, which we're also expanding with these funds. And so we're really ramping up this pathway, as the mayor talked about, directly from a housing subsidy to stable home ownership for families in Boston, primarily families of color for us. And so this is really a huge step, I think, towards leveling the home ownership playing field field in our city for people of color, and we're really grateful to be a part of it and excited today. Thank you so much.
So I guess I get a chance to talk and add a few things if I can kind of thaw out a little bit. So it's great to be here. One of the great things about coming to an event like this is often in the work that we do, it can be a little remote. But when you walk up to a building like this and you see the construction going on, you know why, and the why is what it's all about. So my name's Arthur Jemison. I'm the director of the BPDA. We have a homework, and again, not only did individual people remind me of my homework every day when I come to site, but we see why we want to do the homework. The homework is, can we do this faster? Can we do this in 120 days? We're going to tell you how we're going to be able to do this faster, because if we're going to meet the goals and meet the challenge and meet the moment where we have all these ARPA dollars, we have all the alignment of the developers and the people in the audience here who are from the area who can execute. Our homework is shortening the time. The second part of our homework is finding the land and making the land available, because a property like this not being developed into a new home ownership opportunity is a moment squandered. So we're going to be continuing and doubling down on our work to speed the plow and make it possible for more people to enjoy the opportunity to walk into this unit for the first time, and let their kids pick out which room they're going to live in, or maybe argue about which room they're going to live in, and begin all the things that homeownership means for a family, not just as a place to live, but as an asset they can grow with and their kids can grow with. So with that, I'll pass it to our leaders from MAHA, who can talk to us a little bit more about the process of preparing people to move into one of these homes.
All right.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I have so many different topics I was told I'm supposed to talk about. I don't know I'm going to finish for us all to get out of this cold, so hang on to your seatbelts. I want to thank the mayor for having me here today. I am Simone Crawford, and I'm the executive director for the Massachusetts Affordable Housing Alliance. MAHA is a grassroots organization of tenants, home buyers, and homeowners who fight together for more access to affordable and sustainable homeownership here in the city and beyond. We at MAHA are excited about the opportunity that the city's America Rescue Plan Act funds and other resources will provide for first-time and first-generation homebuyers looking to stay in Boston. When Mayor Wu came to our office back in April, we were to announce the city's historic commitment of $106 million for homeownership. We knew this would be life-changing for so many people. Thousands of potential homebuyers came to MAHA year after year, seeking the stability and security that only homeownership can provide. This morning, the mayor and her team are delivering. MAHA's members campaigned hard for these funds, and we are very proud to partner with Mayor Wu and our City Council to turn this lot and 149 like it into brand new homes. We're proud to help people access the unprecedented down payment and closing cost assistance resources that are now available, to expand and enhance One Plus Boston, and most especially to help first-generation home buyers prepare for home ownership and access a 5-to-1 match of their savings. We have new funding from the City of Boston of $1.5 million. MAHA's Race-Conscious Stash program was created to level the playing field for first-generation home buyers who often do not have the bank of mom and dad to rely on. The City of Boston's continued support of Stash will have a great effect on the program and its participants. Back in 2019, when Stash started, with the support of Boston Children's Hospital Community Collaborative Initiative Grant, we had a vision The City of Boston stepped up and provided the first public funding to match the savings of participants. And we are here today to say the state has also helped us by matching at $3.5 million.
We have money.
I want to take this opportunity to first thank our own Buyers Union member that has come to several meetings to make this possible. A huge thank you to Mayor Wu, who listened to Chief Dillon, the Mayor's Office of Housing and her team. Russell Holmes has been so supportive, along with several of all of our city councilors and several state representatives that will remain nameless because there are just so many. We have with us here Boston Children's Hospital, John Reardon. Thank you, John, for seeing this vision and for really stepping into it with us. I want to continue to say thank you to all of our stakeholders, our private funders, our individual donors, and everyone that see this vision and knew that it is possible and see the need for not just, yes, we have a need for the black and brown individuals within the city, but we have a deeper need for those that have been locked out of generational wealth by not being able to purchase a home because they were just not afforded the opportunity. I'm very happy to say, as a first-gen home buyer, I can stand here knowing that my children are secured because I was able to open up to purchase a home, and I am trying to do the same for our city residents. Thank you for your time.
Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. That's the reminder.
Oh, the listening session. Okay, tomorrow 10 o'clock is the last one. Any questions on this program or housing for anyone up here? Off-topic questions I'll take to the side after.
I have a quick question. I just think it's interesting what the setting that you guys have here, considering that we know that near my with Mattapan, you have the largest share of African American or Black homeowners in the city. I was just wondering if any of the elected officials, especially Morel, or all of you kind of have roots in Mattapan, how could this feed into making sure that portion still stays as Black and African American folks
Okay.
are worried?
So the first thing I said to the mayor, for those who didn't hear, how do we make sure the folks who are from this neighborhood are not priced out? As mentioned, all of us grew up here, Councilor Well, myself, and Arroyo. One of the first things we did is we challenged the team of who they're going to outreach to. We literally said we want the folks who live closest to these properties to be who we're going to outreach to, and not just to the owners. We want to make sure the renters also get a mailer. And I think we sent out, 20,000? It was a big number. 20,000 mailers over the last week to ensure that those are the folks who we're outreaching to. Quite frankly, as I said in my remarks, I don't want all of us continue to go, I didn't say it, but I was thinking it, going out to Brockton, Randolph, Stoughton, and all of those other places. We want to be able to, if you live on Crossman, come over here and look at this property. If you live on Babson, come over here. If you live on Gooddale, where I am, look at the Gooddale property. And so we're hoping, that's why I was saying to the mayor, the first thing I said, is to remind everyone, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, let us make sure, because Maha members have been saying to me for years, they're having to move because they can't afford it here. So you have to match the supply with the as I was saying from the beginning, we have to match them and be very intentional. There are some folks here as well who are very intentional about making sure that they're preparing homeowners to buy homes as well. So not just building, but they're partnering with folks in the neighborhoods to do that as well. And we want to, in all efforts, be intentional. But I'll leave it up to Councilor Arroyo as well.
Yeah, and Councilor Rowe. So I grew up here in Hyde Park, and almost everybody that I've grown up with has actually moved to other neighborhoods in other, I call them neighborhoods, that's probably a problem because they're cities and towns, other cities and towns outside of Boston for affordable housing. I myself was renting and actually got moved before I was an elected official. I was a public defender, and I actually got outpriced on my rents from Rosendale. I went back home to Hyde Park, and I had a number of people people who were working career jobs. Some of them here now probably know this struggle, working career jobs, things that, salaried jobs, but cannot afford because of the price of living in this city, because of the price of rent in this city, to put away money for a down payment for a home. And one of the things that I love about the expansion to 70,000 and making sure that we are accessing folks closest to this is that I actually remember going through, as a very naive, recently out of law school, just got my first job as a public defender. I want to buy a home in Boston. So I went to a first-time home buyer program, went through the whole course. And then they said, yeah, we'll give you like 3%, like with caps at like 20,000, and you already got to have the down payment. And I remember being like, well, then this was a waste of my time. So that was done. And so raising it up to 70,000, doing all of these different things to actually make it truly accessible to our communities. And I think there's very specific laws about racial classification, making sure that folks can actually get it equitably. But one of the things about this country is that it has not been very equitable. And so when we talk about making things economically available, you're going to find that that is often very much like making it available and accessible to those communities, because we have been locked out of generational wealth. We've been locked out of the ability to have savings. We've been locked out of those things. When we talk about that study for Boston about net worth, $250,000 for a white family, $8 for a black family, $0 for a Dominican family, a lot of that net worth comes back to whether or not you own property and whether or not you have access to property. And so doing things like this allows people who have come to these communities. This is actually, I believe, Mattapan, where you stand right now, is the highest home ownership for African Americans in the city of Boston. Hyde Park is probably very close behind that. And when you talk about those families, when I go door to door as an elected official, we are talking about families where people bought these homes in the 70s and 80s, and their children cannot buy the same home that they have now. And so correcting those wrongs, making sure we are doing all of these things to address that, whether it's making sure that we're creating programs like this that not only build the buildings, but also create accessibility for people to fund the purchase of those buildings, is incredibly important. And in making sure we're reaching out to the communities most impacted, like Mattapan, like Roxbury, like Hyde Park, like all of these communities that have seen displacement and generational displacement, it's incredibly important to do that as well. And so I think we are taking those boxes. Obviously, we want to go deeper and further and faster, but I think that this is a step in the right direction, and I'm very proud of this administration and the mayor and our organizations for doing this work. Thank you.
To echo some of my things that my colleagues said, I grew up here in Dorchester, and I did real estate for 20 years. And as a real estate agent, I was, seeing that the price point here in Boston was too high for a lot of our families. So a lot of our families are moving out to Brockton, Randolph, Stoughton, and other towns. So when I became an elected official, that was one of the things I wanted to tackle, is trying to see how we could be intentional, finding out what the economics were behind why our families were moving out, and layering the relief. And as we heard, now we can use our Section 8 vouchers to help fund our purchase price. We can use now we're boosting and bolstering our 1+ mortgage for the down payment and the closing costs and the paying down on the interest loan. And those are the things that we have to be intentional about in order to be able to increase home ownership in Black and brown communities. And as we continue to do that and look at more creative ways of how we can layer relief and hopefully gain more support from our local institutions to create products for our Black and brown families that speak to their economic mobilities, the better we are going to be able to make that a reality here in the city of Boston.
All I'll add on that is our goal is to try to reduce the number of moves for every family to be able to really have their roots solid and grounded in the neighborhoods that they've helped build. And so programs like this, where, again, the outreach is to immediate neighbors and ensuring that we are putting in the work so that everybody knows about it here, and it's not just kind of those who are most connected or have a banking relationship, or ways in which we've seen other assistance programs in some ways perpetuate inequities. But also, I just want to lift up again what happened in East Boston recently, where folks who were living in their homes, renting, and just crossing their fingers every month that the landlord wouldn't raise the prices, now through a partnership with city funding and CDCs and community partner organizations, those 114 families are now in permanently affordable homes. Right? They didn't have to pack up a box or anything, but the weight off of their shoulders is huge. I went through a period in my life where every single year we packed up and moved to a different place, renting, isn't that life changes, displaced out of certain neighborhoods. And it becomes a mentality where everything else in your life is affected if you can't just feel at home and relaxed, and it impacts your job, it impacts your family, it's everything. And so the benefits go far beyond even just the family's bank accounts and what they'll save, although that is huge. It's really accrues to the entire community. Other questions? Yes, sir.
I'm returning back to Boston. I grew up in Boston, went away for about 20 years, came back. And what I've observed is the wealth gap is the root of this issue. What are the plans to integrate the wealth gap and housing initiative so that the wealth can be realized?
The root of the wealth gap here in Boston and elsewhere is disparities and gaps in ownership. And we didn't get into all the statistics today, but it's documented and grows and has grown during the pandemic that families of color, Black families, Latino families, the differences in rates of home ownership are wide across the city. And so that's why putting our funding towards closing those gaps, particularly with homeownership, is a big deal. We're also focused very much so. I know Chief Idawu of our Economic Opportunity and Inclusion Cabinet, if you were here, would be emphasizing that we're also focused on business ownership too. And so it's kind of all strategies, put down your roots in our neighborhoods, get job contracts and economic opportunities with the city as well. We're really proud of what's happened with the large contracts in the city. BPS Meals going to City Fresh Foods, a local Roxbury-based business that is employee-owned, Black-owned. This year, I'm having kind of deja vu all the time because I started in this office about a year ago now, and one of the first things we did was snow preparations, right? Get up to speed on all that has to go into clearing snow. We're starting that again this year, but it's different because some of the seeds that we planted around contracting, some of those major contracts for snow removal, because we created a sheltered markets program that sets aside contracts specifically to close the racial wealth gap, some of those snow contracts now are guaranteed to go to Black or Brown owned companies in doing the work that benefits our whole neighborhood, all of our communities. And so bit by bit, we're trying to put down those pieces, but I know that's a priority for all of us across every level. Yep.
I think everything that we've been saying today helps to address that question, right? So literally the opportunities for those who are currently on Section 8, giving them the opportunity now to head towards ownership, those who are in BHA, give them the opportunity. And I saw you chatting with Ms. Smart and her team. Literally, they are not only just building, but they have plans to build and to match and train folks and prepare folks to own those homes that they're building. And so being intentional about all the income stratas, heading them towards those who are in BHA Section 8, 50 to 70, 100%, 120, but creating these opportunities all along the way, because home ownership is anchored in so much of that wealth gap. So I also just want to just say, also just being really focused to your initial question around how we're going to continue outreach. Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council, I see Fatima here. We're making sure that we're getting into all of the neighborhood groups as well, and not just putting this out just online, but being intentional about getting in the neighborhood groups and asking them and telling them, please, you're very active in your neighborhood. Go out and knock on doors when you're getting information out about your neighborhood group, but also about these opportunities for ownership. We think this is vital, and we think this is critical.
Okay, you're good. Thank you, everyone, for coming.